Today, let's map out your property investing goals so you know exactly what you need to focus on in order to get to a point of financial freedom as quickly as possible with just a small number of properties. Hi, my name is Tony Law from Your First Four Houses, and my channel is all about helping you get to investment property number 4 as quickly and as painlessly as possible. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that little notification icon so that you don't miss out on any of the free content that I give you each and every week. So the truth is, investing in property, it really isn't that difficult. As a good friend of mine likes to say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I do think that is really, really true. You just need to focus on doing the right tasks, kind of focus on the right targets, or shall we call them goals? What are the goals that you need to actually hit? Now, the first of these is really quite simple. You need to actually work out what your monthly financial freedom figure is. Now, I've done an entire video on this. You might want to check that out. But in there, it will teach you exactly how to go through the process of calculating this. But in essence, you're going to look at what you actually spend to survive each and every week. That is your financial freedom figure. Because if you can replace that, then you are, by definition, financially free. And again, I like to really emphasize this is what you need, not necessarily what you want, to get to a point of financial freedom. Actually work out what the actual number is. Because once you can earn that, then you can kind of give up the day job and you are financially free. The next step is to actually work out what is the best strategy for you. Now, there, of course, are loads of different strategies that you could follow. You might be looking at single lets, HMOs, service accommodation, flips, development, deal sourcing, and I've done pretty much all of those to a greater or lesser extent. One or two of those is going to be right for you. Now, I always think that we should follow the 70-20-10 rule when it comes to strategy. And by that, what I mean is 70% of your time is going to be focusing on your main strategy, 20% on a secondary strategy, and 10% on what I like to refer to as other little bits and pieces that come along. Now, the truth is there are lots of different things that kind of had to go into consideration when you're trying to work out what is the best strategy for you. Probably the most important one is your financial freedom figure. Also things like the available funds that you have or money that you can get your hands on. Your age, I think, is really important. If you're my age, at the age of 57, for example, you're going to have a very different attitude compared to if you're 21, for example. Also, whether you love or hate your day job, i.e., do you want to get away from it tomorrow, or are you actually quite happy and content there and you're just looking to kind of build up a residual income for your retirement, for example? By the way, if you want any help kind of working out what the best strategy is, click on the link here. You can book a call with me and I will happily sit down and go through all of these things for you and work out what is indeed the best strategy for you. So we've worked out what our financial freedom figure is. We've also focused in on what is the best strategy for us. The next thing is to actually work out the quantity of properties that we need that align with the strategy that we've already determined that will give us our financial freedom figure. And when you know what your strategy is, the next thing you have to do is to work out what the average net income is going to be for that particular strategy or that particular property type. How much is each of these properties going to actually bring you in each and every month? You then divide your financial freedom figure by that average net income per unit. And of course, this gives you the quantity of units you need to become financially free. So if, for example, your financial freedom figure was £2,800 per month, that's what you need to be financially free. And based on the strategy that you're working on, the average unit is going to give you £700 per month. Well, net, that is, net after all expenses. Well, you know you need 4 of those, don't you? Or maybe your financial freedom figure is £5,000 a month on average net, and you need to bring in £1,000 per strategy unit or per unit of property. Well, you need 5 of those, don't you? So it's really not difficult to work out once you know your financial freedom figure and the average income that each property is going to give you after tax. By the way, if you find this video helpful, it would just be awesome if you could click on that like button down there. It really helps me if that's okay. The next thing that we need to talk about is the location, where your strategy type is going to work, because it may not actually work in your backyards where you currently live. It's so important that you kind of focus on what is the right strategy to meet your financial freedom figure first. And once you know the strategy that's right, then you kind of focus in on the location where that strategy works. I always use as a really good example here HMOs. Do you know what? There are some parts of the country where there's a real oversaturation of HMOs. There's kind of loads of empty rooms. Actually, maybe a little bit less so as I'm recording this in January of 2023. At the moment, there seems to be real demand pretty much across the board for every property type. But in a general sense, in some parts of the country, there's an oversupply of rooms. In other parts of the country, demand is mad. And so if you've determined that HMOs is indeed your strategy, just using this as an example, you need to look around where you live, where the nearest place is where that strategy actually works. And that, in essence, is how you kind of determine where the location is. And by the way, I want to make it really clear. You don't have to invest immediately on your doorstep if you determine the strategy that's right for you. You really don't. You do need to focus in on one location though. So again, I'm going to use HMOs as an example. Let's imagine you live here and maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours drive away. You found the ultimate place where HMOs is going to work really, really well. That's fine. Because I don't want you to be in a position where you're going to be driving over there every 5 minutes to kind of show a tenant round or maybe to unblock a toilet. We don't unblock our own toilets. You need to have somebody in that area that's going to be doing all those types of maintenance tasks. And I think also using a letting agent to actually manage those properties for you. Because otherwise you're just giving yourself another job. You need to get to a point of financial freedom where you're using other people. Therefore, you don't necessarily need to have properties on your doorstep. Once we've decided on all that, honestly, I think the last thing I've got to say to you, the last goal is to actually work out and get some niche education for your particular strategy. Now, before we say anything really quickly, you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of pounds on property training. I'm not suggesting that for one moment. There are some really good books out there that will give you some really good education, will give you a lot of the basics that you need. There's some really good podcasts out there. And there's also some reasonably priced courses. Here comes the shameless plug. You might want to keep an eye out. Version 4 of my online property masterclass is coming soon. It's not very expensive, but you get a ton of content in there. If you'd like to be notified when that comes available, click on the link here and I'll obviously email it out to let you know. So there you go. There are the 5 kind of goals that you should be focusing on. I think you should do it in the order that I've described. And if you do, you can get to a point of financial freedom really, really quickly with just a small number of investment properties.